you get this stuff?
Colombia.
I can't feel my face.
Hi, I'm Liz. Hi, I'm Zill, and I sell drugs. And I make pirated material available to anyone on the internet.
Drugs and the internet. Two seemingly unrelated concepts until you look at their regulation. As we move into a more technologically advanced and capable future, the possibilities are truly endless. While the phrase everything in moderation can sometimes be applied, there are two areas in which it is not tolerated: drug use and internet piracy. Emerging technologies often result in new opportunities, choices, and possibilities. But while advances in internet have opened new channels and methods for growth of online activities, they've also led to a situation where the same channels can be misused. This in turn has created a widespread phenomenon which leads us to a definitive problem at hand. Is internet regulation a realistic solution? According to Maj Yar, professor at the University of Kent, the industry's anti-piracy effort has recently moved up the scale of political importance, riding the wave of a new economic agenda focused on innovation and the competition in the global information society. Public anxieties have been sharpened, while campaigns have been emerging to convince legislators, law enforcement agencies, and consumer that piracy is far from benign or harmless. This sounds all too familiar, as was with the public outcry surrounding the emergence of drugs. We plan to focus on two main aspects of the war on drugs and how it is similar to policymaking regarding internet piracy. 1. How realistic is it to expect people to stop doing something they're accustomed to, and more importantly, something that they want to do? And 2. How is the enforcement of internet piracy laws going to change Canadians' day-to-day lives? According to Bruce Benson, chairman of the economics department at Florida State University, certain drugs have been illegal in the U.S. for over a century, yet today we still see a trending increase in drug arrests. According to Benson, drug arrests in 2006 were 3.25 times what they were in 1980. While this may indicate that more drug users are being arrested, well, there is still the underlying fact that people are using drugs. As for the internet, most people who download illegally, pirate, or stream know that their actions are punishable, yet they still press ahead. And looking to the Canadian public, who of us is really concerned with piracy regulation? Is our government not supposed to act on our interest? According to Benson in 1985, public opinion surveys suggest that drug use was not considered to be an especially significant problem. Yet the war on drugs continued. What can Canadians learn from this?
Like, for starters, like nothing's really gonna. It's like illegal, but nothing's gonna stop me from smoking some Jeffrey, like doing a line and blow. You know what I mean? There's laws against it. The cops don't really like me doing it, but I still do it. But if some bloke wants to go and download my fucking music, there's nothing gonna stop that asshole either. So, you know, if he wants it, he wants it. I want some drugs, I'll get me drugs. He wants my song, he'll get it.
The internet's regulation, according to The Economist, has emerged from the bottom up and not the top down. This could be seen as a great threat to policymakers as they're starting from a huge disadvantage, as the power of the internet is in the hands of the people. Furthermore, according to Kevin Kelly, executive editor of Wired magazine and author of Out of Control, The Rise of Neo-Biological Civilization, net is, as its users are proud to boast, the largest functioning anarchy in the world. Every day, hundreds of millions of messages are passed between its members without the benefit of a central authority. It seems a bit more far-fetched than those backing Bill C-32 believe they have the ability to take on the internet, especially since there is currently little to no regulation.
It's true, like, how does the government even think that they can, gain control over such a new wave of technology? I mean, the traditional regulations have really just been set on, like, TV sets in our homes. How do they even think that they can control this new thing that's, like, available to so many people? I mean, let's be realistic here. I'm not gonna let them cut off my Gossip Girl. Are you serious?
As with other disruptive technologies, governments and legal systems have not easily accommodated these new developments within their existing frameworks. According to Christine Cooper, the office holders of television and music companies are vying for regulation to apply consistently regardless of the media, but to do so risks strangling new media development with red tape. In terms of punishment, how much is too much? Bill C-32 has offenses such as producing pirated material and distributing it is punishable with a maximum fine of $1 million and a maximum of time in jail of 5 years. A study on student subjects, Lionsky and Dervalsa, in the U.S. have found that the fear of prosecution does play a factor in internet piracy behavior. Recording Industry Association of America took such an approach in the United States, taking legal action against 382 users who were randomly chosen off peer-to-peer networks to copyright infringement. Although this approach enjoyed some initial success in reducing piracy numbers, the legal battle enjoyed mixed results. And a year later, the number of peer-to-peer networks is at an all-time high.
What are the odds, really, that I'm going to be the one incidental person who gets caught downloading music or software?
This existing attitude of poor tracking and minimal scare towards laws that are specific to fighting digital piracy among consumers everywhere can be attributed to several factors. First, there have been few cases where intellectual property laws have been enforced in developing countries. Second, while there are already laws protecting intellectual property, piracy and a breach are a common practice, where pirated material can be purchased almost everywhere. Third, people in developing countries have a general perception that laws are not always being enforced.
Honestly, the lack of enforcement and lenient penalties are not going to stop me from downloading Glee every week. I'm still going to continue my so-called illegal activities online, just so I can watch my shows.
Lawrence Blatantly, author of The Death of War on Drugs and lecturer in the Master of Liberal Studies program at Rice University, explains the struggle of ideologies in the war on drugs. According to Blatantly, the contest is between the perspective that is a genuinely free society maximizes the rights and freedoms of its citizens, in turn allowing them to think, say, and act as they please as long as they don't harm or injure their fellow citizens. The other perspective emphasizes the claim that a stable social order can be maintained in the absence of illegal enforcement of a rather long list of shared moral values of its citizens. A study conducted by Robert Siegfried from Alpha University brought forth several misconceptions that helped circulate the belief that the duplication of copyrighted materials is permissible.
Not sure I deserve it.
The fact is, the dude who, made it isn't really losing anything, because people aren't really taking, the physical embodiment of, what it is, It's like music, but it's not in my hands, so it's he's not really losing any of the dude's own property, you know what I'm saying? The Motion Picture Association of America estimated worldwide losses of digital piracy about $18 billion in 2005, while the International Recording Industry Association reported $12 billion yearly losses in the music industry. If everyone has the internet and those things are on the internet, isn't that stuff that's on the internet available to everyone with the internet? There is a general impression that anything one can access free of charge is legitimately available for downloading. Most people do not distinguish between materials clearly placed in public domain by its creators and materials on which there is copyright protection.
I think that's a yes!
Lawrence Blatantly also mentions philosopher David Hume's reference to the perpetual struggle between the liberty and the individual and the authority of the state. In both the war on drugs and an attempt to control internet piracy, we see individual freedoms clashing with state and law. Bill C-32 is said to strive to promote culture and innovation, competition and investment in the Canadian economy. But this is being done by withholding freedoms of Canadian citizens, and it is not the job of the policymakers to create policies that are in the best interest of society as a whole. Can it be argued that Bill C-32 is not acting in the best interest of the whole, but instead certain clusters of elites and large corporations?
We argue that passing Bill C-32 would be all too much like the war on drugs in America. As we've seen time and time again, this war was started without the proper resources and attempted to take on a task that was much larger than the institutions who attempt to fight it.
What's going on here is not so much a revolution as some had predicted, but a gentle, gradual, evolving historic act of liberation. Liberty of viewers, consumers, listeners to determine their own viewing, their own compilations, their own contents, even their own services.
Internet piracy happens because there's a demand for it, and no law is going to change that demand.
How much bigger can we get? Sky's the limit. 3 million, I counted it twice. 2.5, I'm sure. Where do I put it? Try to close it! We're gonna need a bigger boat.